Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ada Uzoma. I'm the web developer for CPC, and I'm going to just give you a quick overview of the new EDDI products on our website. So currently, there are two main landing pages for EDDI. We have this announcement page on the current CPC website, and it briefly announces that EDDI has been transitioned from PSL to CPC. It shows samples of the three main types of EDDI maps, and then it also links you to the new version on our new beta site. So let me click here and take you there. Okay, so this is the new EDDI homepage hosted within a content management system called Drupal. Basically, what Drupal does is it makes creating, updating, and managing websites easier. And so here within the drought section of the website, we have a subsection here for EDDI. And in the left sidebar are links for the four major sections of EDDI content: current conditions, map archive, time series, and a resources page. And then on the right sidebar, we have information on how to access the EDDI images and data, along with a link that takes you directly to CPC's FTP site to access that data. And then below it is a link to the interactive version of EDDI's current conditions map, which Hailan mentioned previously, and which I'll go over a little bit later. And so here in the middle, in the main content area, is some introductory text about EDDI. After this first paragraph, you are able to expand or contract the text to read more information on what EDDI is and what it can be used for. And then below that text is a button here that will link you directly to the survey that Hailan mentioned earlier. And then after that are links and thumbnails to the four major sections, again, that I mentioned. And then below that is a paragraph of acknowledgements. So let me go through these sections one by one. So first, we have the current conditions, EDDI current conditions. And here in this section, we have displays of the different types of EDDI maps. The first set of images are the most recent category, change, and attribution maps for 1 week. And in the right sidebar here, there are timescale options where you can select between the 24 timescales, 12 for week and 12 for month. And the images will change based on what you select. So if you select, let's say, month and then maybe 2 or 3, and then you click apply, the image updates, as well as the change map and the attribution map below. So each image can be clicked to see a bigger version. And then underneath the category map is a link where you can download a .NET-CDF file containing the data for these maps. And then back at the top here is a link that would take the user directly down to the bottom, where it gives you more information and a description of the maps and their underlying data. And again, you can expand the text, and it gives you quick descriptions of each type of map. And then you can contract the text again. And so now I'm going to take you to the interactive version of this page. So this is our interactive map of EDDI current conditions. And this is pulling in WMS layers from the map server that Hailan mentioned earlier. Again, we have timescale options here on the right-hand side that gives the user multiple ways to select the different scales and map types to display. You can toggle between category and change maps, and the options will change depending on which one you click and which timescale you select. You can select the number of the scale directly to go to that, or you can go forward or backwards. And then, you can click back and forth between week and month and changes and category maps. And whatever number is selected here will be reflected in the map type that you select.
Oh.
And then below each view, there's a button that you can click to view a larger version of the map and the link to the image of the map changes dynamically depending on the options you select here. And then there's also another button here that allows you to download a .cdf file of data. So then the next section is the EDDI map archive. And basically this is just an archive that allows the user to go back and retrieve older category maps. There's a date picker here where you can go and click previous dates and then select different timescale options. And then when you click apply, it'll show you the map for that date. And similar to the current conditions maps, you can click to see a larger version of each map. And again, the button here will automatically or dynamically change to link you to the data file, the .cdf data file for the map that is being displayed. And then after the map archive, we have the EDDI time series page. And starting off, we have introductory text that explains what the time series is. An interactive map here with a regional bounding box and some inputs on the right-hand side with plotting options. So you can either type the values here in the form, or you can drag and change the location of the points, and the numbers will automatically update as you're dragging. And then when you select more options, the averaging period or the ending month, then you click generate data and plot, and it will, hold on, let's see. Okay, and then it'll display a plot of the EDDI values for these options and a table of the values next to it. And then underneath each plot are buttons where you can download the image and a text file of the values, and also a master table of all the values. So if I click here, it'll automatically save the file, and I can view what it looks like. And same thing with the table. I get a text file, and it's a nicely formatted text file of all the values. And then below is another section that has a description of the time series data and the plot. And one thing I want to say about the EDDI time series here in Drupal is a major accomplishment with this CPC version of the EDDI time series is that we were able to convert the older NCL code that calculates EDDI for the web to Python. And NCL, if you're not familiar with it, is NCAR command language, and it was designed for scientific data analysis and visualization. And in 2019, NCAR announced that they were no longer going to be updating the language, and they advised their users to transition to Python. So we were faced with the challenge of converting the NCL code to Python. And if you know anything about Drupal, the content management system, it relies on a programming language called PHP, and it's not an easy feat to get PHP and Python to work nicely together, especially when it comes to a content management system. But we were able to accomplish that and make it work. So that's a major thing. And then finally, we have the resources page. And here on the resources page, we have links to documents about EDDI. There's the EDDI user guide, a PDF document that explains how to read an EDDI map, links to a previous webinar, and also links to various news articles and stories, and as well as a list of references. And so that's basically it for the website. You know, like Highline mentioned earlier, we welcome all feedback. On the landing page, there's a link to our SurveyMonkey survey, and we look forward to hearing what you think about the CPC version of EDDI. Thank you.